There is so many things that are messed up with this case, guys. Definitely go back and watch the other parts if you haven't yet. Uh, it's just going to be his name with the word story, part one, part two, part three. I think there's like 7 parts to it. So definitely go back and watch all of them because they're the story's crazy and there's so many unanswered questions. And the cops say that he did this to himself, and it just doesn't seem that way to me at all. So I'm going to go through this real slow so you guys can pause and read if you'd like. Because I'm going to read it to you, but I'm not the best reader in the world. So if you want to pause and read it yourself, then there you go. I'm helping you out here. So, all right, let's go through this. I'm going to read it. As Ramona was driving home from the appointment, Maria called to say that Sean wasn't opening the door. Sean told she told Maria. I think we were. Let's jump down a little further because well, let's go through it because you guys might not know this part. Like you might not have watched the other parts. Okay. Okay. So oddly enough, all the traffic lights were green on the way home except the last one. As she sat by the light, a fire engine and an emergency pickup truck came blazing past, and she suddenly felt ill. She muffled under her breath, "Please don't turn right." But they did. She sped up and watched them take the next right into her neighborhood. She thought, "Please God, don't let them be at my house." The siren stopped and she couldn't see the vehicles anymore. She turned left onto her lane and saw them all in front of her house. Ramon, through her SUV in park, told Bijah, which is the great grandmother, uh, or the grandmother, sorry, she was going in and ran towards the backyard. They had they had entrance on each side of the house, but the one on the right was never used. In fact, from the road, she couldn't tell it was a gate because a bush was too close to it. Everyone was gathering near the gate on the right side of the house, but the gate on the left was wide open. Why? Well, that's a good question if you don't ever open it, but maybe they opened it. I mean, there's a possibility that that's just could have happened. Uh, Ramona ran through the open gate on the left and saw everyone gathering under the swing set. She tried to focus and figure out what was happening. Suddenly, she saw this long body. Long body was in legs laying on the ground, and EMTs working around him. An officer rushed towards her and told her to move away and let the medics do their job. She heard the AED and saw his body rise from the ground and slam back down. Her knees hit the ground, and from the deaths of place she never knew existed, she screamed, "No!" As Sean's body continued going up and down, a million thoughts went through her mind. What was Sean doing outside? Did he fall? Was there an accident? As these thoughts were racing through her mind, she heard someone yell, "Heartbeat." The police officers again assisted. She stepped further back so they could do their job. It then occurred to her that her toddler wasn't out there. Realizing that he wasn't outside, Ramona turned around to just see Maria running towards her. They both ran into the house with the officer right behind them. As Ramona turned the doorknob, it opened immediately. The door was unlocked. She ran forward and saw the Crocs upside down next to the closed garbage bags on the floor that were ready to be taken out. She scanned the living room for her toddler and noticed two little legs hiding beneath a pile of laundry on their chair. She yelled his name and scooped him up and opened his eyes and started to cry. He was really limp and just out of it. It didn't seem like his normal self. Ramona ran to the front door and it was locked as Maria had stated. They opened the door and ran outside to the front yard. She noticed a neighbor standing nearby with a landscaper. She ran up and yelled out, "What happened? Did you see what happened?" The neighbor said no. She turned towards the landscaper, who muttered, I don't know him. Who did it? I don't know him. Who did it? She ran over to the other neighbor on the other side, who was also mowing grass, and he too said that he didn't see anything. How could all of her neighbors be outside doing yard work and not see anything? The fence is only 3 foot tall. No matter who she asked, nobody saw anything, and nobody knows anything. Our neighbors even had several cameras affixed to their house that pointed into her yard, but they were disconnected and hadn't been recording in years. Ramona's husband was in Willingsburg with their middle son at ABC Services, and at least 35 to 40 minutes away. She needed help immediately, so she called her boss and told him that she thought Sean was dead, and, and he said he'd be right over. That's crazy. That's got to be a hard thing that your kid is dead. She called her husband Jared and could only say that Sean was hurt really bad and that they were trying to revive him. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He ran into the building, grabbed their son, and jumped in the car. Ramona watched as the ambulance with Sean pulled away, as they wouldn't let her ride with him. She hopped into the first responders' fire pickup truck, and they began backing out into the road. As they pulled out, uh, boyfriend, Maria's boyfriend AJ, and his mom pulled up. AJ jumped out to consult Maria, and Jamie jumped out as well. She ran up to Ramona in the pickup and said, "What the F? Is he okay?" Ramona shook her head no and asked Jamie to stay with Maria and Virgia and the kids. Ramona asked the driver if he had an update on Sean since the rig was far ahead of them, and he told her to have hope since they were able to get a few beats on the ground. Still in uniform, still in still in uniform, Ramona walked into the emergency room. They were expecting her. She was guided through a security door down to where Sean was being worked on. There was nurses and doctors 3 rows deep in the hall, all watching and praying. A mom in scrubs fell to her knees in prayer with tears pouring down her face. The crowd parted all at once and turned towards her to make way for the physician to come out. She stepped back, shook her head, and just screamed no as the physician informed her that Sean was gone. Wow. There's a couple of things in here that don't make a lot of sense. This is a 3 foot fence, and neighbors on both sides of her property were cutting grass at the time this happened, and nobody's seen anything. Makes you wonder if one of the people that were cutting grass did something, because they would know that the mother left with the grandmother, so there was no adults here. So these two people on both sides that are cutting the grass should be suspects. But the cops say nope, no suspects in this case. Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, this case.